Hello, friends. Welcome to the Tell It Like It Is podcast. I'm your host, Alexi Bailey. I have a very special guest today, all the way from ATL.
Hello.
Alexandra, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you, Alexi?
I'm so great. Thank you for taking the time today. I'm very excited to chat with you because I see your post and you have the most energy. So thank you for taking the time. I think, the work is happening all around us.
hmm
People are doing it. And I just want to have a central place where we can talk to each other. And, you know, it's crazy to me that we still need to do this,
Yeah,
you
I
know.
feel like it's been like a long time, just a long time. But one thing that I learned from an elder is that it's going to take a lot of time to undo hundreds of years of damage. We're still only like a fraction in trying to, rebuild and decolonize and fix
Absolutely.
the damage that's been done.
I think that's where I am with it. Like it really hit me. Like I've been doing the work my whole life, but then like recently I was like, oh my gosh, like this is trauma. This is
Yeah.
something like deep. Like I don't even think most of us understand. Like we think it's something that happened to our ancestors.
hmm
You
It's
like,
not just something that happened to our ancestors, but it's something that is still happening to us. It happened to our close elders, and the trauma has been passed down genetically. Like,
see, that's the thing I think a lot of people don't understand, to have trauma in your DNA.
yep.
And I think that's something I want to learn more about. Like what do you know about this trauma in your DNA?
Well, to be fair, I can only paraphrase, but I do have a grasp of it because I did major in psychology
Right.
in college.
I did
So
too also.
cool. And one thing that I will say that I do understand, that I do believe, is that um, genetically speaking, we carry those energies. Imagine, imagine going throughout just the life that you have now, going throughout your whole life, never really healing those feelings that stem and that are rooted in whatever traumatic experiences you had throughout your entire life, and you continue to carry it and it continue to mold you who you are, like especially if you never got a chance to break out of that environment and grow from it. Now you have a child and you didn't break those generational curses, so what are you going to do to that child? Pass it on to that child, not just outwardly, but you're also transferring that traumatic energy to that child. That child is a part of you. So that's literally these hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years of unhealed energy, as well as unhealed behavior that's been passed down to us generation after generation after generation after generation. Now, that doesn't mean that, there hasn't been those of us that have tried to break that. Obviously, we have those examples of those people that try to break those generational curses throughout time. But, as I've stated before, it's going to take so much work to undo what, roughly 500 years of damage, 500 years of colonization, to see how that really is not that much time compared to how long civilization has been around. Like, the earth was spinning and moving just fine with with our real ancestors, you know, civilized and kicked back and living off the land. But colonization came and it was just a full sweep of not only just the land, but people, all types of indigenous peoples, but especially African peoples. And what they did with us through chattel slavery and the slave trade definitely played a role genetically in how we were bred and the passing of those energies.
I think most of us on some level be like, oh yeah, I agree with that. And obviously socialization, it's there.
Mm-hmm.
Know it's in the structures, the oppressive structural organization that's been on the books for hundreds of years. So
Mm-hmm.
I think most people see that, but I think what's hard to understand is if you were to adopt a Black child and put them into the perfect situation, they still have to heal
Right.
And a lot of those kinds of kids, that's the thing. That's why some people say Black kids should be adopted by Black parents. I don't agree with that, but that there's some logic to that, because if you have no idea of the trauma, if you have no way to help them process this trauma, now you have this kid in an environment where no one looks like them, and they're feeling all of these things, and they're hearing a different version of history that speaks to their actual narrative. They're confused.
Right. And you meant Black kids being adopted by white people, right?
Right.
Okay. You said Black kids adopted by Black people. So I had to clarify. But yes, I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. You're gonna have a different experience living under this system. Until this system is dismantled, if you're Black, you're going to have a Black experience, and that's not entirely positive. Whether you're growing up in predominantly white spaces, in rich spaces, whatever type of spaces. But just to kind of piggyback off of your point, yeah, I believe that does our youth more harm. Growing up in spaces where they're not around people that look like them, that speak their language, that share their experience, that can teach them how to navigate their experience, that can teach them their true history. Because it's bad enough that there are a lot of Black people that still don't know enough of our history, but there's definitely a lot of white people that don't, or those that do but still subscribe to, the part of history that makes, white people and colonizers look like the protagonists.
What do you think about Kevin Samuels?
I don't think anything about him.
Do you think he's right? Do you think he's like a positive voice? Do you think he's...
Absolutely not. And just to clarify, and I'm not trying to be shady in this, we're gonna have to use past tense because apparently he passed away.
Right, which is a part of the reason I'm bringing it up.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if you do. I don't think that he was anything but harmful to the community, in my opinion. I think that there is a way that Black men and Black women can have discourse and speak about the things that keep us disconnected with one another. But I don't subscribe to any ideals that are akin to white supremacy. I don't believe in telling a Black woman or even a Black man that they're not worthy because they don't live up to a standard that was literally designed by white men. Your idea of a high value woman is not a Black ideal, in my opinion.
So why do you think he had so much traction? Like, what do you think he was saying that resonated so strongly?
Well, one, I believe that his target was Black women.
Mm-hmm. Well, he was trying to...
Everybody likes to be provocative with Black women.
But in his opinion, he was trying to give some some constructive feedback. So people were coming to him because they resonated with the feedback they were getting from him. So I don't want to just dismiss, like, he had a huge impact.
He did have an impact, but Hitler also had an impact. And I'm not comparing the man to Hitler, but right. Anybody can have a hidden impact, and then that impact can still be harmful. Like, look, at the end of the day, look, if you subscribe to what he's doing, then that's fine. I just choose not to subscribe to it. Also, nothing that he ever did really moved me because I'm sure of who I am as a Black woman.
Right.
Can't nobody tell me or define me or tell me what my worth is. That's up to me.
Right.
And I feel like that's the problem. He had a lot of people who don't have that mindset that gravitate towards him.
Right.
He had a lot of people that feed off of drama, that like to watch drama. He had a lot of people watch him that like to watch other people, trash women,
right,
all Black women all day. The same reason why the fit and fresh guys have a following. Like, nobody truly respects them, but they're provocative enough, and that's entertaining. Do I believe that he was an intelligent man? Yeah. I do believe that he had a level of intelligence, and he definitely spoke like someone who was intelligent. I just feel like he just wasn't, at least, on the right path, in my opinion.
So
he was using his intelligence.
Let me just say, I felt like he definitely, he was rough around the edges, a little bit like rude and dry, and I get all that. But I think at the core, like, to unpack what you were saying, like I don't think he was trying to hold us to white supremacy. I think he was trying to say some of us bought into some white ideals and we need to be, he's saying, you know, and I'm not defending him. I'm just
So
trying
what would be those white ideals that he would say that some of us fed into?
So I think I want on to, so again, he said a lot of things and I'm not trying to say I know it all or summarize, but I'm trying to, my point is that he resonated with people. He was saying something that people wanted to hear. So the question is why? What was he getting at? Was it all just smokes and mirror kind of thing?
I believe it was smokes and mirrors because he was resonating with people who aren't decolonized.
Right. So I think, so here's the deal, right? If you have a woman who thinks she deserves a basketball player or a business owner who can provide for her, and she has 3 kids and something like that, like he was just trying to say, hey, listen, the reality is you're past your prime. Why would a man in his prime choose you? So he was saying, look at your external value he was giving people some kind of a different perspective to, yeah, we can all feel that we're 8s and 9s and 10s, but he's saying the reality is from the outside, you're not all that. You need to value.
But that reality is based in what? What social standards built by what group and what class of people?
You're right. So I think.
Exactly. So.
I don't think he was saying, I uphold those standards. He's saying you want a man based on those standards, and based on those standards, these white standards that you're.
No, it's not a white standard. It's an individual standard. See, that's the problem. Just because another woman wants a basketball player, I'm married. I'm not married to a basketball player. I'm married to the type of man that I chose to be married to. You feel what I'm saying? Like everybody's going to have their own preferences, whether it's rooted in what they want or rooted in what they believe they should want. I feel like ultimately, individually, everybody has a right to have their preferences because men have them.
But now
men have them too.
Where it got to a point where women are now alone. They're dying alone. That's what he's saying. They're
okay, and men die alone all the time.
But that's fine.
I can't find the statistic. I can't find the statistic.
They came to him saying, "Please help me. How can I get a basketball player?"
Because they don't know any better.
You're 42. You got 3 kids. A basketball player doesn't want you. So
I can't validate that energy because they did not know any better. I don't validate what Kevin Samuels did. Like I don't think that what he provided was of any value, in my opinion.
But here's my point. I'm saying there are people out there who are looking for guidance. He was providing that. So what I'm saying is I would love to help people, give them the guidance. I would love for me and you to have conversations that the people who would have listened to Kevin Samuels, we would need to speak to their issues and give them some feedback that can help them. So you're saying Kevin Samuels was doing it wrong, which implies you can do it right. And I'm saying I want to do it right. Let's figure out how we
no. When it comes to personal stuff, when it comes to like relationship stuff, that's not my thing because I believe that nobody can tell you how you navigate your intimate space. Like at the end of the day, there is someone for somebody. I don't think that how I would do it is right, but I can objectively say that I don't believe that how he did it was right. I don't believe that it's in anybody's place to generalize nor make absolutes about why somebody is not finding someone. Could be I don't know people's lives on an individual basis, but it's not in my place, nor do I feel it's in anybody's place to say, you don't have worth because you have children, or you work too much, or it's too far-fetched for you to want a basketball player. Are you kidding me? Do you know how many men get with women out of their league on a daily basis without trying? Like, and that's a whole other conversation. So I personally feel like, one, that shouldn't even be our community's priority, whatever Kevin Samuels would use his platform to talk about. But I believe that it was harmful because despite his impact was literally built off of, and just putting it plainly, trashing people under the guise of these are societal standards. But we live in a white supremacy society. So it's like, I can't stand by that, nor can I like really justify that or defend it, because it's like, dude, what are your values rooted in? Because those aren't Black values to me. And I'm not saying that you're promoting white supremacy, but when you say that you don't have worth because the reality of our society, what society are we living in? We're literally living in the imagination of an old white man from hundreds of years ago, down to how we identify ourselves, our gender, our sexuality, the nuclear family, capitalism, every aspect. We have been indoctrinated under white supremacy. So why am I going to listen to a Black man tell me that certain Black women don't have worth because they don't fit into a realistic societal standard?
I think
I feel like that would contradict my stance.
I think that you've said a lot of things on your page which I really like, that challenge people to really get them thinking. Where did your journey start? Your activist journey?
I guess I would say it was always a part of me my whole life. I can't honestly say that I've always been pro-Black, because even I didn't really understand what pro-Blackness was until like just recently in my life. But thankfully I had a father that, you know, was just one of those people that wanted his kids to be just overly educated. You know, he was the type of person that had us watching historical documentaries and reading books and don't wear your hoodie in the gas station. Like, I had those talks with my father. So it was being aware in the home. And also, I believe growing up in predominantly in all Black spaces also played a role as well.
But was there a moment when you like got activated? Like, what was?
I can't say that there was really a pinpointed moment. I feel like I was always kind of activated because I always talk this shit, to be fair. Like, you ask my friends in college, I used to say all the time, we're still slaves, y'all. I don't know who told you, but we all still slaves. I said, watch. I said, shit gonna hit the fan one day. Like, I used to talk a whole lot of shit, you know, but I feel like what made me like transition into like, you know, building a platform and everything was just as an outlet. Like, I needed something to kind of like release. And I also felt like there were points that, you know, I could add to, I guess, the virtual conversations, and it just kind of grew.
So what should we be doing right now? How do we fix this? How do we get out of this? Like, what would you like to see happen?
Ideally.
Yeah.
And I always say ideally because there's not one right solution.
Sure.
But I believe that the first step is exactly what we're doing now, is being able to talk openly and respectfully with one another. You know, have those thought-provoking conversations that make us, you know, see past what we're used to.
Right.
I also believe that, and this is something that I had to discipline myself into doing, I believe in reading. Reading books, brushing up on your history. Like, I don't care if it's a book every few months, if it's one book a year. If every Black person were to take the time to exercise their mind and to also relearn what we've already been taught, because I'm telling you right now, I don't care if you've gotten your high school diploma, bachelor's degree, GED, master's degree, and PhD, whatever history you was taught was, unless you did your own little dissertation studies and shit, whatever history you was taught was most likely false, watered down, colonized.
Right.
So I feel like good, open, objective discussions with the goal of decolonizing is a start, as well as people taking the time to educate themselves as a start. Because I'm telling you that them not allowing us to read when we was enslaved, that was for a reason, people. That was for a reason. There is power in connecting your eyes to words. And if you're unable to do that, audiobook, whatever, but I believe getting your literature up really helps to get that mind strong and to be able to see things differently.
I'm having the conversations, I'm reading the books. What should I do next?
I don't know, that's up to y'all. Because let me tell you, we are in a mess, baby.
What do you think? What's your relationship to church and religion right now?
Yeah. I'll say this. I'm a spiritual person.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever go to church in your
Yeah.
life? Yeah.
I grew up in the church.
What kind of church did you go to?
I grew up in a Baptist church household. My father, I told you earlier before we started, you know, he's Afro-Latino,
Okay.
Afro-Caribbean. So he grew up Catholic, partially, as well as Methodist. So whenever I would visit family in New York, because that's where he was raised when they immigrated here. Whenever I visit family in New York, it would always be Catholic Methodist churches. But down here in the South, where I was raised, primarily Baptist. My granddad is a pastor.
Right.
My mama grew up a PK, preacher's kid.
Right.
So
what was your experience in church? Was it helpful? Was it community? Was it a good?
It was community. It was definitely community. And I'll always cherish it because it was that one aspect of my life that kept me deeply connected to my Black culture. Like I said, the community, the camaraderie of it, not always just, the things that Black people can share with one another. If you grew up in Southern Black church, then we can share these commonalities. Like culturally speaking, it was a positive experience for me. I grew up, I even joined a church when I was a teenager. And that particular church I actually enjoyed because his name is Dr. Durley. I love him to death. He's like a family member to this day. But he was one of those pastors that like was different. You know, he would bring like people of other denominations and of other faiths to come in and educate his congregation on, it's not just what we believe here. Like these are how we're all connected. Like he was that type of pastor, and I feel like that's why I joined that church. And he also would bring like Pan-Africanness to our church to like teach us African history, to teach us about our real roots, to teach us about the roots of the Bible and where a lot of these stories and these allegories come from, and were stolen from. Like that was the kind of pastor that I grew up with. I feel like I separated from the traditional side of Christianity and from church just out of principle.
What's the principle?
The principle is just that the Christianity as we know it is the Christianity that indoctrinated us and subjugated us to where we are now. So I don't follow the traditional. I don't follow Christianity in a traditional sense. I don't follow Christianity at all. But I don't follow religion or believe in religion or Christianity in a traditional sense like I used to. However, I can objectively acknowledge that a lot of those stories do come from our roots. A lot of those stories do teach lessons about virtue and integrity. A lot of those stories are all very well connected to an overall bigger picture, which is there is a higher power. There are spirits, there are ancestors that look after us. So I feel like that's as far as I go with it. But I'm not the person that, like, I don't care if you're a Christian, like I'm not about to talk your head off about why you shouldn't be, but I will check someone that tries to push that on me. If that makes sense.
All right. Do you think that a faith-based community is beneficial for you personally?
Yeah. I think when it becomes toxic, when it becomes unhealthy, and when it becomes very, like when you start to utilize that to project onto other people, like that's when I separate myself from it. I believe that every Black person has the right to have faith in something because that's essentially who we are. Like that's how we have always been. So I believe that is very, very significant and important to the Black community, is to have a strong faith-based.
So would you say you're missing that now?
Mm-mm.
So how would you describe your faith-based community?
I have my faith base. I have faith in myself. I have faith in the God within me, and the people around me have faith in ancestors. There, I feel like the community and the company that I keep, like they may not all be of traditional religion, but they're all still spiritual people. You know, they all still have gems that they can drop of how we can see life. One second, I'm sorry. My dog is back.
Okay. The reason why I'm leading you down this path is because I think there's a question here that I think we have to answer collectively, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the underlying theme of our conversation is, how do we heal?
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to heal, right? We're trying to move past being victims to a system.
Mm-hmm.
I think on one level, we want to change the system, but I think on another level, we have to do certain things, even if the system never changes,
Mm-hmm.
right? And one of the things that the church offers is a faith-based community.
Mm-hmm.
And the beauty of the church is that it's something clear, and it's something that we can all kind of say, all right, this is the model. We're striving to be like Jesus. We're trying to have these disciplines. We're trying to stay away from these vices. It's structured in this kind of clear way. So if you're a member of this community and someone begins to have a drinking problem, you can clearly say, Brother Joe, we don't drink. Let's help Brother Joe. So that's clear. Whereas if you have this kind of casual faith-based community, you can kind of say, well, it's up to them, or
I feel like that's an assumption. I feel like that's an assumption because community is anywhere that you make it. Like,
but that's what I'm saying.
Not every person that has battled and fought and won against, say, addiction or any type of disease or condition had a faith-based community or even had a Christian-based community. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, sometimes it's just the Black community. Sometimes it doesn't even have to be faith. I feel like that's what draws us all together, because we're not all Christians when we're out there protesting with each other, are we? You know what I'm saying? Like that's not a whole Christian-based or faith-based movement. That's a Black movement. I feel like our Blackness is what ties us together, and that's the real core and foundation of our community. I feel like religion is literally just something extra. I feel like religion, like that type of community, is like a sub community within a larger base community. I wouldn't want to believe that I would only have community if I was faith-based. You know, say if I'm outside looking in, but also that really just isn't the case ever. I've seen a lot of community, gather around and uplift one another, and these folks don't go to church ever. Just off the basis of the fact that we're all Black.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the strength. That's what needs to be stronger.
I think I'm still trying to answer the question more, because the reality is the Black community, historically, the Black church was a huge resource. And I think that the Black church, Christianity in general, has lost some of its stronghold. Mm-hmm. So as we're transitioning into a more secular society, people of color are going to suffer from that, because that was a major support system.
Well, if you realize, what you're absolutely right about is that there have been a lot more of us that have walked away from the church, mm-hmm. but that same population of people who walked away from the church are getting more deeply connected with our traditional African spirituality, with our traditional, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're trying to get connected with what we really should be connected with. So there's still community. They're just not subscribing to what they were indoctrinated to believe anymore. Again, that doesn't invalidate anybody that still chooses to live a Christian life, but I don't believe that Christianity is the glue that holds Black people together. If anything, Christianity is one of the catalysts for us being oppressed in the first place, if we want to keep it real.
Right. So on one hand, exactly what you're saying, I fully agree with, right? We mm-hmm. know the slave master was handing out biblical verses. We know that.
Just a quick question. Are you Christian?
Traditionally, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm not. So again, the question here is, if we are transitioning and we are moving forward, and we're trying to figure this out, the way forward, I think the decline and the move into secularization has caused more divide, right? So I think we need something that can kind of bridge all the groups together in a more intentional way.
You know what the bridge has to be? At the end of the day, we are Black first. When I see a Black person, I'm not thinking to myself, are they the type of Black person that aligns with me? Are they not Christian? Are they reading every day? Are they doing this? Bro, are you Black? Are you for Black people? Period. I don't care if you're gay. I don't care if you're man, woman, trans, this, that, and the third. If you're Black and you're for Black people, period. Like there should literally be no condition to my love and my connection and my support of you other than you're trying to harm Black people, period. Like I don't accept anti-Blackness from any space. So it's like, I feel like that's the bridge that has to be gapped. That's the bridge that has to be gapped, because also if we're talking about us as a community that wants to be liberated, true liberation is respecting people's autonomy. We never had full autonomy as Black people. I see ideally a world where Black people live in their own Black space, have their own nation, govern themselves, police themselves, have their own economic system, and get to live whatever life that they want to under this beautiful Black umbrella. But that's all going to seem like an imagination if people don't let go of their own individual shit. Like, it's not for me to tell another person, this is what you should be doing. Like, the only thing I feel like we should be doing is decolonizing.
Right.
And stripping ourselves of any self-hate, any anti-Blackness, anything that has kept us not necessarily victims, but just subjects, pawns to this bullshit. Because guess what? Anti-Blackness is global. You're going to experience it here in America, where you're from, Europe, UK, Australia, and in Africa. You see it everywhere. So this shit is global. So I feel like this, if you Black, yes, that's the bridge right there. It's getting everybody to understand that Blackness should literally be the first thing that makes us realize that's our community.
I'm with you. I'm already
there.
I think that, you mentioned LGBT, like all of these things are pulling us apart. And I realized that that's the power of the spoken word, right? Mm-hmm. If you begin to put labels on things, give things names, now you can say, are you LGBT? Are you Christian? And that begins to like
the labeling down from like the start of like the labeling of our race, us being Black, because Black race is not an ethnicity. It's literally a system that was literally created to exclude us, to make it clear that we are the white slave masters and y'all are the slaves. So the labeling, again, is rooted in what? White supremacy. But we're still living in these systems. The system is not dismantled. So I feel like it's not so much the labels that's making us divisive, is people trying to tell people under these labels, even us as Black people, how we should live, how we should be, how we should behave, when that's literally up to us.
It's a big plate.
Yeah.
I'm all about breaking it down. And I think most people can put more time and effort, show up to more conversations, participate more, and really like take this thing on. And I think most people are living passively with these problems. Mm-hmm. So when I see the work that you're doing, it resonates with me because I want to do a similar work. And for me, it's about consistency, growing, reaching people, and letting people know they have a space where they can talk about things and do things and like be serious about this,
Right. Absolutely. And I agree. And again, it's like I said, it's going to take so much time to undo so much damage. That's why it feels as though like whatever dreams we may have for our community is unreachable. And these establishments, these governments are so ingrained and just these these societal norms, like everything about what we feel is normal is just so ingrained in billions of people, is going to take a lot of time. But I feel like what we're doing right now, and this is also why I have my brother on my podcast, A Gifted Ruler, because I want there to be more representation of Black men and Black women speaking together,
Of course, yeah.
mutually, whether we disagree, whether we agree, open-minded, but showing that we have a common goal.
Absolutely.
And then eventually expand that across outside of the binary with, you know what I'm saying? With like, and again, with other Black people across the diaspora, not just Black Americans, not just Afro-Caribbeans, everybody uniting that, because there's a division there too.
Right.
From Black, you got ADOS versus people who ain't from America. That's stupid to me. Like, I had a man tell me that, oh, Caribbeans and Latinos, like they don't even care about Pan-Africanism and da-da-da-da. A whole Caribbean man is what started the Pan-African book. You see what I'm saying? That's why we need to talk some more, and that's why we need to educate some more.
Right.
Like, read, people, I promise you.
Alex, let's take a short break and come back for part 2.
Okay, cool.